"Sir, can I have your leftovers?" The question cut through the soft jazz and silverware clinking inside Giovanni's, one of Seattle's most exclusive restaurants. Heads turned. Conversations froze mid-laughter. At a corner table sat Khalil Monroe, a tall black man in a tailored navy suit, mid-30s, quiet power in his posture. He looked up from his untouched meal and met the eyes of a woman standing just beyond the patio barrier. Thin, tired, but proud. Her clothes were layered, mismatched, her blonde hair tangled by rain. Yet her green eyes burned with something that didn't belong to the streets. Dignity. The waiter moved to block her. "Ma'am, this area is for customers." Khalil raised a hand. "It's fine." His voice carried authority, not volume, the kind that stopped arguments before they began. He studied her for a moment longer. "What's your name?" She blinked, startled. "Autumn." "Autumn Reed. Autumn." Khalil rose from his seat, his 6'2" frame commanding attention. He picked up the plates, the expensive food he'd barely touched, and walked toward her. Diners whispered as if witnessing a scandal. "Here," he said. "But don't eat out there. Sit with me." Her eyes widened. I can't. I'm not dressed for this place. They'll kick me out. You're my guest." For a moment, silence hung between them. Disbelief versus dignity. Then Autumn stepped under the velvet rope and sat down, shrinking into herself, avoiding the stares. Khalil slid a plate toward her. "Eat." She hesitated only a second before the smell overwhelmed her hunger. Fork trembling, she ate quickly but with care, like someone remembering table manners from a past life. When she finished, tears mixed with the dirt on her cheeks. "Thank you," she whispered. "You have no idea how long it's been since someone looked at me without disgust." Khalil leaned forward. "Where do you sleep?" She stiffened. "Why?" "Because I'm going to follow you." Autumn froze mid-breath. "That's strange. Maybe. But I need to see where you go. How you live. Call it curiosity." Her laugh came out hollow. "You rich types and your experiments." Khalil's expression softened. "No experiment. You asked for leftovers with more dignity than most people ask for raises. That means something." Autumn studied him. "Who are you?" "Khalil Monroe. I run a cybersecurity firm. And tonight, I'm realizing success means nothing if you stop seeing people." He stood, leaving a generous tip on the table. "Let's go, Autumn. Show me your world." As they stepped into the misty Seattle night, whispers followed, about the black millionaire walking beside a homeless woman. But Khalil didn't care, because for the first time in years, he wasn't chasing profit. He was chasing understanding. Rain whispered against the pavement as Khalil Monroe followed Autumn Reed through the dim Seattle streets. 3 paces behind, silent, respectful, she glanced over her shoulder more than once, suspicion flickering like streetlight shadows. "Still following, huh?" "I said I would." "You're insane," she muttered, clutching her bag tighter. "Rich people don't walk through these neighborhoods." "I wasn't always rich," Khalil replied calmly. "Besides, understanding costs more than money." Autumn scoffed but didn't argue. She led him past boarded-up storefronts and alleys that smelled of rain and rust. Finally, she stopped beneath an I-5 overpass where a small tent and tarp setup waited. Shockingly neat. Books stacked carefully. A single photograph taped to concrete. A younger Autumn in a white lab coat, smiling. She gestured toward it. "My palace." Khalil scanned the space, survival crafted with precision. "You're organized. Old habits," she said, voice brittle. "Used to run lab experiments. PhD in biochemistry. Stanford." He blinked, processing. "You're a scientist?" "Was," she corrected. "Past tense. Life happened. Tell me. Mom got cancer. I quit my job to care for her. Company promised to hold my position. They didn't. Bills piled up. She died, and I lost everything." Her words came flat, emotion buried under exhaustion. "Turns out a degree doesn't stop eviction." Khalil looked around again. The tarp, the books, the careful order amid chaos. "So this is where the world puts brilliance when it's inconvenient." She met his gaze sharply. "Don't pity me." "I don't." He crouched, resting his elbows on his knees. "I see potential being wasted, and that irritates me." Autumn frowned. "You talk like a professor." "I run a cybersecurity company, Monroe Tech Solutions. We're developing a new encryption model, the kind that needs pattern recognition, advanced math, analytical thinking. He paused. You could do that. Autumn laughed bitterly. Sure, homeless girl joins tech firm. Great PR story. Not charity, Khalil said firmly. Employment. You'll earn your pay. Housing, clothes, stability. Temporary setup, but earned. She blinked. Why? Because you didn't beg, you asked with dignity. Because you reminded me of myself. He looked away for a moment. I know what it's like to walk into rooms where people only see color, not capability. You and we're invisible for different reasons. But I refuse to let either of us stay that way. Autumn stared at him, unsure if this was madness or mercy. You're serious. Completely. He pulled a card from his pocket, clean and white. Monroe Tech Solutions. CEO. Khalil Monroe. Be there tomorrow. 9 a.m. She hesitated. The world inside her split between disbelief and hope. If this is a joke, it's not. You asked for leftovers, Autumn. I'm offering a second chance. She took the card with trembling fingers, the ink smudging slightly under the rain. For the first time in months, she smiled. Okay, I'll be there. Khalil nodded once, stepping back into the night. Then tomorrow, he said softly, let's feed more than hunger. Morning rain glazed the Seattle skyline as Autumn Reed stood outside Monroe Tech Solutions, clutching Khalil's business card like a lifeline. Her reflection in the glass door showed a woman trying to look brave. Tangled hair, faded jeans, worn shoes, but her eyes carried both fear and fire. Inside, the lobby gleamed. Marble floors, soft lighting, success humming through every detail. The receptionist's smile faltered the moment she saw Autumn. Can I help you? I'm here for Mr. Monroe, Autumn said, voice shaking. Before the woman could respond, Khalil appeared from his office, crisp in a gray suit. Right on time, he said warmly. Follow me. Every head turned as Autumn walked past, whispers trailing behind like perfume. She felt each glance, every judgment. But Khalil's calm presence steadied her. He led her to a quiet corner office. Inside was everything she didn't expect. New clothes in her size, toiletries, a shower key card, and a sealed envelope. What is this? She whispered. Temporary housing. A one-bedroom apartment we use for out-of-town consultants. It's yours until you get back on your feet. The clothes are work attire. Get cleaned up, take your time, and come find me when you're ready. Autumn's throat tightened. I don't know what to say. Say you'll work hard, Khalil replied. That's all I need. He turned to leave, then paused at the doorway. Welcome back, Dr. Reed. The words hit her harder than any act of charity ever could. Doctor. Someone remembered who she was, not what she'd become. An hour later, she emerged transformed. Clean hair falling like sunlight over her shoulders. The blue blouse fit perfectly, the simple black trousers neat and professional. For the first time in a year, she looked and felt like herself. Khalil was waiting in the conference room with coffee. Now that looks like a scientist ready to rewrite code. Autumn laughed nervously. I can't believe I'm here. You earned this, Khalil said. Now let's see that brain of yours at work. He handed her a tablet. On it, pages of dense code, encryption models, and simulation data. We're developing a quantum-resistant algorithm. I need fresh eyes to find vulnerabilities. Think of it as solving a puzzle no one else can. Autumn's eyes scanned the code. Her fingers moved instinctively, jotting equations, pattern checks, variables. The rust began to fall away, replaced by focus, by fire. Hours slipped by unnoticed. When she finally looked up, Khalil was leaning on the doorframe, watching with quiet pride. How long have I been working? She asked. 6 hours, he said, smiling. I didn't want to interrupt genius. She laughed softly. I forgot what that felt like. Being useful. Khalil's gaze softened. You were never useless, Autumn. The world just stopped looking. Now it's your turn to remind them who you are. Outside, the city moved as always. But inside that glass tower, a once homeless woman had just begun her comeback. 3 weeks later, the hum of Monroe Tech Solutions felt like music to Autumn Reed. Her desk, once a symbol of disbelief, was now surrounded by open files, glowing monitors, and coffee mugs, proof of belonging. She arrived every morning before anyone else, left long after the lights dimmed. Her work wasn't just good, it was brilliant, Khalil noticed. Quietly, always, watching the way she lost herself in algorithms, how her confidence returned piece by piece, like dawn breaking after a storm. That Friday, she knocked on his office door. "Got a minute? For you?" "Always." She stepped in, clutching an envelope. "This is for you." Khalil frowned. "What is it?" "My first paycheck," she said softly. "You gave me an advance for clothes, food, and the apartment. I'm paying you back. Every penny, plus interest." He looked at her, at the trembling hands, the pride behind her eyes. "Autumn, you don't need—" "Yes, I do," she interrupted, voice firm. "You said this wasn't charity." "I'm proving it." For a moment, neither spoke. Then Khalil took the envelope gently and nodded. "Consider us even." Autumn exhaled, relief washing over her. "Thank you for understanding. I understand better than you think." She tilted her head. "How do you mean?" He gestured to the chair across from him. "Sit, let me tell you a story." Autumn sat. Khalil leaned back, eyes distant. 8 years ago, I stood outside a restaurant much like Giovanni's. I had one suit from Goodwill and a startup idea no one believed in. Security kept kicking me out because I didn't look like someone worth investing in. Autumn listened quietly. Then, he continued, a woman named Eleanor Harris stopped. She told security I was her guest. She sat through my pitch, asked tough questions, and invested $50,000. Enough to launch Monroe Tech. When I tried to repay her, she refused. She said, "Don't pay me back, Khalil. Pay it forward. The world needs more people who see potential instead of appearances." Autumn's eyes glistened. "She sounds remarkable." She was. And when you stood outside that restaurant asking for leftovers with dignity intact, I saw her. I saw me. Tears slipped down Autumn's cheeks. You helped me because she helped you. I helped you because you reminded me why I started. To build something that makes people visible again. Autumn smiled faintly. "You really are a strange man, Khalil Monroe." "Maybe, but I believe kindness should have a return on investment, too." She laughed, the sound soft and genuine. The first time in months. He smiled back. "Now, Dr. Reed, go home. Rest. Monday, we start integrating your models." She stood, pausing at the door. "You gave me a job. But more than that, you gave me my name back." When she left, Khalil sat for a long time, staring at the envelope on his desk. Not for the money inside, but for what it meant. Dignity. Earned, not given. It started as coffee breaks. Harmless, professional, and timed between coding sessions. But in the quiet rhythm of Monroe Tech, those 10-minute talks became the highlight of every day. Autumn Reed had a laugh that filled Khalil's office like sunlight. Her analytical mind challenged him. Her honesty disarmed him. She spoke with the bluntness of someone who'd lost everything once and no longer feared judgment. "Do you ever stop working?" She teased one afternoon, stepping into his glass-walled office with 2 steaming cups. "Do you ever stop overthinking?" He countered, grinning. "Touché." She set a cup on his desk. "Black, 2 sugars." He raised an eyebrow. "You remember?" Scientists don't forget data. Their eyes lingered longer than necessary. Silence stretched. Not awkward, but alive. Work blurred into friendship, and friendship into something unspoken. They shared lunches, late nights debugging code, conversations that drifted from algorithms to life. One evening, after the office had emptied, Khalil found Autumn still typing in the dim light of her desk. "You're still here," he said softly. "Deadlines don't sleep. Neither should you." She smiled faintly. "You sound like my mother." Khalil leaned on her desk. "She must have been wise." "She was," Autumn said quietly. "She used to say, 'Don't let the world harden you, even when it breaks you.'" He nodded slowly. "Smart woman." She was dying and still more worried about me. Autumn's voice trembled, her walls cracking. "When she passed, I thought I'd never feel whole again." Khalil hesitated, then sat beside her. "Loss doesn't vanish, Autumn. It just learns to live inside you." She looked at him, eyes glistening. "Did you lose someone too?" He nodded. "My father. He taught me discipline, how to fight for respect in rooms built to deny it. But when he died, I realized success means nothing if you can't share it with someone who understands." Their pain mirrored each other's. two lives scarred differently, shaped by struggle. Funny, she whispered. I thought you saved me that night at Giovanni's. Maybe you saved me too, he replied softly. Autumn blinked back tears. Don't say things like that. Why not? Because it feels like a line. It's not. Khalil's voice dropped lower, sincere. It's the truth. The air between them shifted. Electric, delicate, dangerous. Then she laughed nervously, breaking the spell. We should probably get back to work. He smiled, masking the ache in his chest. Yeah, probably. That night, long after she'd left, Khalil stood by his office window, watching the rain smear the city lights. Somewhere between code and conversation, professionalism had blurred into affection, and affection into something deeper. He didn't know when it happened, only that the once homeless woman rebuilding her life had quietly begun rebuilding his heart too. The first time Khalil Monroe realized he was in love with Autumn Reed, she was laughing, really laughing, over takeout noodles in his office. No designer restaurant, no wine, no performance. Just chopsticks, spilled sauce, and the sound of joy that had been missing from his life for too long. He watched her tuck a stray strand of blonde hair behind her ear, eyes bright, face alive. What? She asked between bites. Nothing, he said with a small smile. Just glad you're here, she paused. You mean, in your office? I mean, in my life, silence. The kind that hums with something neither dares to name. Then Autumn looked down, her voice barely above a whisper. You shouldn't say things like that, Khalil. Why not? Because it makes it harder to remember who signs my paychecks. He chuckled softly, but his chest ached. She wasn't wrong. They both knew the risks, reputation, perception, the whispers that could undo years of respect. Still, something between them refused to fade. The following week, their work took them to a late-night tech symposium. Khalil's team was presenting their new encryption prototype, and Autumn's analysis had been key. She stood beside him on stage, elegant in a navy dress, poised, confident, the very picture of redemption. When she spoke, explaining their algorithm, the room hung on her every word. Khalil didn't hear equations. He heard strength reborn. After the applause, he found her backstage, cheeks flushed with pride. You were brilliant, he said, meaning every word. So were you, she replied, her eyes soft. We make a good team. They lingered too close, too long, a heartbeat of temptation before reality intruded. Cameras flashed nearby, journalists chatting about Monroe Tech's comeback. Khalil stepped back first, professionalism snapping like armor. Later, in the quiet of the car ride home, she finally said it. They'll talk, you know. About us. Let them, he said. Easy for you to say. You have a company, a reputation. I'm just the homeless girl who got lucky. Khalil turned toward her. Stop saying that. You didn't get lucky. You earned everything. Her voice softened. Then why do I still feel like an outsider in your world? He hesitated. Because the world's built to remind people like us where we don't belong. She met his gaze. Pain and understanding blending in equal measure. Then maybe we stop caring where we belong and decide for ourselves. For a long moment, neither looked away. The city light slid across her face, painting her in gold. He wanted to reach out, to close the distance. But instead, he whispered, You're right. When he dropped her off that night, their goodbye lingered like a question neither dared to answer. Love had entered the room, quiet, defiant and unstoppable, but for now, it lived in the shadows. Morning sunlight spilled into Monroe Tech's glass tower, but peace didn't last. By noon, the whispers had begun. Someone had posted a photo online. Khalil Monroe, the black CEO of Monroe Tech, standing too close to his lead researcher, Autumn Reed, outside a gala. His hand on her back, her eyes soft, laughing. It wasn't scandalous. It was human. But in a world obsessed with hierarchy, it was enough to ignite a storm. By the next day, headlines screamed, From street to suite, CEO's secret romance with ex-homeless woman. Monroe's heart or Monroe's mistake? Autumn froze when she saw it. Her stomach dropped. Khalil, this isn't just gossip. It's war. He walked into her office, phone buzzing with calls he ignored. Then we'll fight it together. She shook her head. You'll lose investors. They'll say you're unprofessional. And if I deny you, I'll lose my soul." Her voice cracked. "I never wanted to ruin your name." "You didn't," he said softly. "You gave it meaning. The board meeting was brutal. Suits and sharp ties. Faces carved in judgment. One man spoke first. 'Khalil, the optics are bad. You gave her housing, a job, and now she's your partner? It looks inappropriate." Khalil's tone stayed calm but firm. "You mean it looks uncomfortable because she's a woman who once had nothing, and now has everything she earned? She's your employee." Someone snapped. "She was a PhD before she ever met me," Khalil countered. "You want me to apologize for believing in talent that doesn't wear designer suits?" Autumn sat beside him, hands trembling under the table. He reached over, not a display but reassurance. "I won't fire her," he said simply. "If that means you'll fire me, then do it." The room went silent. When the meeting ended, several board members walked out, but a few stayed. One older woman, quiet until now, looked at Autumn and said, "You spoke well at the symposium. You reminded me why I joined this field in the first place. Don't let small minds shrink your purpose." Outside, reporters waited, flashes firing. A microphone shoved toward Khalil. "Mr. Monroe, is it true? You're dating a woman who used to be homeless?" Khalil smiled faintly. "Yes, and she's also the reason our company's encryption model just broke every performance record in the industry. So maybe, just maybe, the world should start judging people by what they build, not where they started." Autumn's eyes welled up beside him, pride and disbelief colliding. Later that night, she whispered, "You didn't have to protect me like that." He turned to her, voice low and certain. "Autumn, I didn't protect you. I told the truth that began with a single meal, had just rewritten their future 6 months after the scandal broke. The noise had faded, replaced by something louder, stronger, and far more enduring, respect. Monroe Tech's new encryption model shattered industry records. The press that once mocked their relationship now hailed it as a story of courage and second chances. But Khalil and Autumn didn't care about the headlines anymore. They were building something deeper, not just in business, but in life. One evening, the same restaurant where everything began, Giovanni's, reserved its corner table once again. Autumn sat there, radiant in a soft ivory dress, hair loose and gleaming under the golden lights. Khalil arrived a few minutes later, dressed simply. No boardroom suit, just the man she'd come to love. She smiled when she saw him. "Déjà vu?" He chuckled. "Exactly, except this time you're not asking for leftovers." She tilted her head. "No, I'm sharing the feast." Their laughter filled the room, but beneath it was quiet gratitude, the kind that only comes from surviving storms together. As dessert arrived, Khalil reached into his jacket and placed an envelope on the table. "Open it." Inside were legal documents and a name printed in bold, the Eleanor Harris Foundation. Autumn's breath caught. "The woman who invested in you?" He nodded. "She gave me my start. Now it's our turn to give someone theirs. Housing programs, job training, scholarships for people rebuilding their lives, all under your leadership." Her eyes shimmered. "Khalil, this is bigger than us." He smiled gently. "Exactly. You once asked for leftovers, Autumn. Now you'll be feeding futures." Tears fell freely as she whispered, "You always said dignity is worth more than charity. And you proved it," he said, taking her hand. "You turned pain into purpose." A year later, cameras once again pointed at them. But this time, it wasn't scandal. It was the ribbon cutting of the Foundation's first housing complex, Reed Place. Reporters asked the same question they always did. What inspired this? Autumn looked at Khalil, then at the crowd, faces of people once invisible to society. "It started," she said softly, "with 5 simple words. 'Sir, can I have your leftovers?'" She paused, emotion catching in her throat. "That night, a man saw me. Not my dirt, not my past, but my humanity. And because he saw me, I learned to see others. That's what this place stands for. Seeing the unseen, believing the forgotten." Applause erupted. Khalil stepped beside her, arm around her shoulders. "From one meal," he said, "came a movement. Because love doesn't start perfect. It starts with kindness." As they stood beneath the Seattle sky, surrounded by laughter and hope, Autumn whispered, "We really did it." Khalil smiled. "No, you did it," she leaned into him. "No, we did it. Together." Sometimes the smallest act, a meal shared, a hand extended, can rewrite two destinies. From one meal to a new life.